Hello, my name is Kritika and I'm from the Wireless Tag team. In this video, I want to show you the configuration of HA-SSO on the Cisco C9800 wireless LAN controller. Let's review the prerequisites before forming the HA-SSO. Both controllers in the HA pair should be the same model or be in the same hosting environment in case of virtual controllers. Both controllers must run the same software version and have the same installation mode. Configuration of the wireless management interface is mandatory. WMI and RMA IP address needs to be on the same subnet. Use the same interface number while forming HA on virtual controllers. Maximum RP link latency needs to be 80 milliseconds route trip time. Minimum bandwidth needs to be 60 Mbps and minimum MTU needs to be 1500. There are two types of configurations. RP, which refers to the physical redundancy port on the wireless controller. Both IP addresses for the local and remote IP must be in the same subnet. It is suggested that you use 169.254.x.x/16 subnet. The last two octets can be derived from last two octets of the management interface. To configure from CLI, use the command shown here. Let us start the configuration using the CLI. Here, chassis refers to the WLC. By default, the chassis number is 1. If the chassis number is the same on both the controllers, it results in an active-active case. So, I am going to change the chassis number of standby WLC as 2 using the command chassis1 renumber 2. The active WLC is chosen based on the highest priority value configured. The priority value range is 1 to 2. I'm changing the priority value of chassis 1 as 2 using the command chassis 1 priority 2. Now, I'm applying the chassis redundancy HA-interface command on both the controllers as shown. To configure the HA interface details from the GUI, navigate to Administration, Device, Redundancy and Enable. Select the type as RP. Provide the IP address, subnet details and apply. Repeat the configuration similar to that on standby WLC. This time with the local IP and remote IP reversed. Once the configuration is applied, reload both the controllers by executing the command reload from the CLI. State transition for HA-SSO pair formation. Active wireless controller in non-redundant mode. Standby insertion for HA pairing. HA sync in process. Terminal state reached for SSO. Now the HA-SSO has been formed. Controllers are in the active and standby hot state. To break the HA pair, run the clear chassis redundancy command. Standby WLC reloads and returns to day 0 configuration. Let's move on to the second configuration type, which is RMA plus RP. RMA refers to the Virtual Redundancy Management Interface. With a single RP link between the SSO pair, if the heartbeat on RP fails, there is no way find out if the failure is limited to the link or if the other controller has failed. RMA is a secondary link between the active and the standby controllers, which also supports the default gateway reachability check. Here the RMA IP address can be chosen from the WMA subnet. Each controller has primary and secondary IPs on their WMA VLAN. Once HA-SSO is formed, active WLC primary IP becomes management IP address of the controllers. The secondary IP is now the RMA IP of respective chassis. The config looks like as followed. Use the same command on both WLC1 and WLC2. The RMA IP configuration triggers HA pairing and forms the SSO pair. To break redundancy in RMA, run the same configuration command with the no keyword in front of it followed by reload command. Use these commands to validate the HA-SSO status. Show redundancy. Shows the process uptime, version, last switchover reason and many. Show redundancy states. Displays all the redundancy states of active and standby controllers. To verify the configuration, use the show chassis RMI. The show chassis command points to the current C9800 wireless controller on the console using the asterisk symbol against the chassis number as shown. Show firmware command to check the IP details. To manually switch over, use the command redundancy force-switchover. Validate the switchover reasons using the show redundancy switchover history command. Once the HA-SSO is formed, there is no access to the standby controller. The prompt on the standby console is appended with -stby to reflect the standby wireless console. To access the same, enable it from the active controller. Commands to enable are: the standby WLC can be accessed using the RMA IP address configured. These are the interface status on the controllers after forming HA-SSO. Only the active WLC uplink interfaces are up. Standby WLC ports automatically show down once it forms the HA-SSO. Only the logical RMA link on the standby controller is up. Service port, dedicated management out-of-band interface. When controllers are in HA-SSO, only the service port of active WLC is accessible. Default gateway check. Both the active and the standby controllers use the RMA IP as the source IP and send ICMP pings to the gateway. If there are 8 consecutive failures in reaching the gateway, the controller declares the gateway as unreachable. To enable default gateway check, use the command management gateway-failover enable under global config mode. Ensure default gateway IP is configured. To verify if the gateway check is enabled, use the command show redundancy states. This can be configured from the GUI. To do so, navigate to Administration, Device, Redundancy, Enable Management Gateway Failover. Thank you for watching.